start with the first poem from the collection. It's called On Stepping Off the Train. Ta-da! You go out, shocked fully into normal. Winter isn't silent. Snows are dragging. And there is the lake you stood by, standing under granite, set in the hills, steadfast. The leaves stuck on the water's suspension, an insect fastened to the line, worn out. The worn out reeds bending, leaves rustling on the lake and shifting. Bowl of the lake, bowl of the sky, bowl of the lake with the sky in it. You looked at you in the water. The blizzard is cold, and the boy in the blizzard is blue. From a bridge. I remember the river rising. It must have been nearly fall. The baked earths smell like a late yellow above the water's slow upward climb. That river was so muddy, you'd never waded this time of year. But even so, boys from the town would jump off bridges, thinking maybe the depth was safer. But they were wrong. My mother told me a story once of her father, how he was like those boys and jumped off bridges. When the long rains came, the water rose that year also. But the bottom shifted as the currents changed. Thus, when he dove, he broke his neck. And then, not paralyzed, he dragged his head from the muck, swimming to the bank on which he could lay his body down, not be carried out to sea. This next poem is a poem made entirely of cliches. And it was actually given as an exercise from Robert Pinsky to me. I think actually to our whole class. And I had a very difficult time with it. I collected a bunch of cliches and tried to turn them into a poem, and it didn't work. And then one day I got one of those annoying chain emails that you get from your parents and their friends in your inbox. And in it, there was the story about a second grade teacher who had given her students half of common cliches, only half of them. And the students had to complete them. So there were lines like, you can lead a horse to water, but how? And that's a good question. And my favorite, which was better late than pregnant. Second graders. But when I saw this, I realized that I was allowed to break the cliches into pieces and combine them. So that's what I did. It's called the gift horse. You can lead a horse to water, but when the blind lead the blind, he who hesitates is lost. Every field looks green from this distance, even this cemetery, though the grass on the other side is greener. I ride slowly. It gets me just as far, through the country where the one-eyed man is king. My blind companion, curiosity, my dark horse, is music journey. I hear them, changing horses in the middle of streams. At times, I tell them, better to ask twice than lose the way once. At other times, silent, I pass for a philosopher. Don't worry when you stumble, I tell myself. The worm is the only thing that can't fall down. Solarium. 1. In daybreak, the sun sitting up. Oh God, I thought I saw God spread out in roses again. Momentarily, I will be taken up, like flame in a cloud, like a cinder in fire to outflap the Empyrean. Dead things gumming the sidewalk. Hello, dead things. Tell me, what good is a life that wears away? 2. I chew the red wire, then the blue wire, then through the flowered wallpaper. Oh, look at this charming table, already set, built for a mouse, and silent as a banquet hall after the guests have gone. 3. I was a dead thing once, on the back porch once, facing the square of my mother's rose garden, with the north-facing windows, full opened in June, and other flowers, the names I've forgotten, all gone into bloom. I've heard the train horn bawl out again, from across the river. First sound I remember, told through the walls of an empty house. Have watched the coyotes come loping across these frost-flocked rows of the field. 4. Quick, to the window, mother, come see. The coyote, he's dragging a haunch by the bone. He'll lay it down, lie down beside it, then sink his teeth in the flitch. 5. The dream is big. The dream is fancy. The dream is big and fancy. The rodent, cuddly, but a little dirty. I'll keep him as a pet. I'll pet him like a love charm. 6. Remember summers, Jordan? Eating quinces, spitting the seeds, and how you never ate quinces again, and they laughed when you called them quinces. And now there are no more quinces. I do remember quinces. 7. Beautiful ones, I see you everywhere, hiding inside yourselves. 8. Sometimes time is iron. Swing it hard, hear it whoosh. 9. At the door, the red curtain is still flapping. Who will go in? The one who is going. No, I do not die here. The year is wrong. Earth returns, and today no cloud cover. I wish my heart was as big as the world, but bigger. 10. The sun sitting up ever so slowly. This poem is twice as long. Young, I expected violences. Peal of the storm-sheared oak, the rabbit's shriek from the underbrush. Though years have flaked from me, lichen still molds to stone. Now, in the fold, sheep drowse, while at the river's mouth, twin deer are drinking. Chamber music. 1. No one knows where the storm came from. 2. Scratching their heads, the weathermen. The satellites bungled the news, clumsy instruments. Then somebody said, it's just a projection. 3. Yet hadn't the dog and its doghouse howled? And didn't the cat jump down from the roof? 4. Inside mangroves, a man docks his boat. Inside his cabin, he rides in a storm. He opens the bottle of wine. Outside, the storm peeks in through the porthole, and the wind is frisking. 5. Here's what else a storm's eye sees. It doesn't say much, but it sees me, with a ukulele, having a memory. 6. Pink and cheap, the ukulele. Although the storm, 7. It changes nothing. Sting of the skies, electric string release, which changes nothing. 8. Was I the man with wine and a boat? I wasn't the man with wine and a boat, but the boy on the dock was me. There are a number of prose poems throughout the book. They all start with on my something life, on my pony life, on my plane life, on my path life, on my so-called life. I'm going to read on my pony life. I don't know where most of my poems come from, but I do know where this one came from. I studied abroad when I was an undergrad, and we were in England, and we had this wonderful trip where they took us to castles and gave us nice dinners, and we got to take cool classes with important professors. And at the end of the trip, they had a feedback session for all of the Americans, and of course, lots of people complained. And one of the complaints was that someone thought we would be allowed to ride horses at some point. I was upset too. And a friend of mine, who is still a friend, this has become a continuous joke for us. Whenever we experience something great, we say, yes, but there were no ponies. On my pony life. No one gave me a pony. I want a pony, so someone could lead me around. I have endured. On my pony, I would carry a lolly, its colors in a spiral. Not all the colors, but those at least of the rainbow. Someone would say, how smart you are, as they began to thread ribbons in the tail. This next poem can actually be purchased. Heather Hughes, who I'm always tempted to call Heather Hertz because her Facebook name is Heather HZ, made beautiful broadsides of one of my poems and one of Anne-Marie's poems. And we have 52, so you should each buy 2 or 3. Snow Children. The one who wrote that the sun going down might be a subject of praise. The one who wrote that the same coming up might be a subject of praise. I have said less than I intended. Watching snow children, so squat in fat coats, their joy as instant as a stone that leaves the hand. I remember clouds migrating overhead, and the road that leads out of the pine woods margins. Then snow, more snow, the only kind of it. Water break. All around the garden of the gods. All around the garden of the gods are growing. This one with annoying fruit, and that one with alarming leaves. In one corner was a pine cone, whose shingles smiled. In others, shaggy funguses, with heads like purple wigs stuck out of the ground. And a shagbark, her branches filled with orange eggs, stood over a deer whose mossy antlers cut the wind. The various constructions to employ the mind, thudding into wall, the wall, the wall, the wall slanting, the direction in which all gardens of the gods reside. This is another of the prose poems. On my plain life. All of us were headed north. I was in a plane. I felt the all-around bounce of it. Being in a plane, like love, may require you to get close to someone you sometimes hate. I couldn't wait to go. I thought of love and planes, and love on planes, then slept, coasting among white clouds, and mine was my atmosphere. This next poem is a nod, I suppose, to Elizabeth Bishop's In the Waiting Room, in some ways. It's my own small critique of causality. It's called At the Sign of the Skull. At the reservoir, I saw it first. It said we'd show the vet, who said, small dog. The waiting room held canine hearts, steeped in jars of warm formaldehyde, still plugged with heartworms. Maybe it's a sign, I said. He said, start asking for signs, and you'll take anything. This is the last poem I'll read. It's the last poem in the book. Place. Once, the bush was gone. was gone again. So much singing came from the valley, as if it had always been. There was one tree. Its bark had many knobs. As yellow dusklight clumped in the hollow, a villager stood on the hill. It's quiet now, and dark as a wick.